Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on Disney Plus with the weekly Q&A. So all of these questions have been submitted by our Patreon and YouTube channel members. So these have all been submitted in advance. This week it is a pre-recorded video, but we have a little premiere going on so you can have a little bit of a chat between yourselves. So I'll be back next week with a new live one. But for this week, we're going to be doing this one because I'm having a day off. Right, so we've got quite a lot of questions. So as I said, you can support us through YouTube channel memberships and also Patreon. And what this does is it helps support paying for the bills, paying for hosting, paying for all kinds of stuff that needs to be done. And it really does make a massive amount of difference. So big thank you to all of them. I've got a couple of questions here. So let's jump into it. So up first, Khaled said, since WWE and Disney made a deal to license the WWE Network on Disney Plus Hotstar in Indonesia, could you see them do a similar deal for Star Plus in Latin America? So I definitely feel like, and also this is kind of interesting with this whole story because the WWE Network has been generally on its own as a streaming service for years. I've been a subscriber for a long time. I'm a big WWE fan. And so in the US, they ended up like selling, really kind of licensing the WWE Network to Peacock. And so what they've done there is brought in a lot of people into it, and you have to be in the higher tier to kind of get access to it. So you get access to all of the big events like the Royal Rumble, which just took place, and we've got like WrestleMania and stuff coming up. So in Indonesia, they're going to have access to the WWE Network from this weekend within Disney Plus Hotstar. And also, like some of the big trades like Deadline have been indicating that this might be the start of it, because it looks like to me that the WWE are going to start kind of closing down the WWE Network in terms of how they run it and offset it onto other platforms, because they're going to have a lot of success. How many different platforms they go to? I mean, every single country could end up having something completely different, or it could be more of a deal of going, oh, well, we want it on these networks. So there's a lot of stuff. I definitely feel like Star Network in Latin America does, or the Star Plus platform does actually lean into it. There's a lot of live sport already on there, and it probably would really help boost up Star Plus in Latin America. If you're not too sure what Star Plus is, it's kind of a hybrid between ESPN Plus and then all the Star content and Hulu content that Disney makes, sort of the more general entertainment stuff. Is a little bit of a controversial thing, but generally I could easily see it being included in there because it kind of feels like the natural place for that one. Joshua also said now that the WWE and Disney have now officially announced it, because it actually was officially announced about 3 weeks ago, and then they put it up by mistake, and WWE contacted me, and we had to wait until they officially announced it. But it was a few weeks till we did so. Because he asked about it back then. Do you think the WWE Network will come to Europe and the UK? Now, I think there's a little bit of a tricky one here, because Disney Plus internationally has got all the Star content. It doesn't have any live TV built into it, and that makes it very difficult, because at the minute, like Disney Plus Hotstar, the India and also in Indonesia and other places, they kind of have live streaming, and it's almost like a different app. So I think in order to add the WWE Network into like the UK or European Disney Plus, that would almost require us maybe to end up having an entirely different app. I don't know. I mean, they might be able to include live streaming into the main Disney Plus app, but you got to remember that's going to everyone in all countries. So unless they're going to, it's a bit tricky, I think, on the technical side of how that would work with the apps. So that's my thing. I personally would love it, because I have a WWE Network subscription. It costs me £10 a month. So if they can merge it in with the WWE, great. However, there is also that counter argument of that cost is going to have to come somewhere, and it will end up coming from subscribers. Generally, as with regards to like live sports, I like watching WWE and I subscribe to it, but I don't subscribe to Sky Sports or ESPN or anything like that, because I've got no interest in it. So therefore, I'd rather like Disney Plus just kept kind of on the entertainment. Now, WWE maybe slides into that anyway, but I think we are going to see a really big shift over the next couple of years of like what people assume is on WWE. Sorry, not just in WWE, but what's going to be on Disney Plus all over the place. I just feel like we're really in a place now where Disney Plus is just it's growing up, it's changing. It's not about just having movies and stuff with princesses and Star Wars and superheroes. It's about offering so much more. You look at all the other streaming platforms; they've all got sports, if I've got live sports, and things like that. So yeah, we're definitely going to a big change. And WWE, for me, that would be the number one sports pick. You can keep your football and your soccer and your basketball. For me, WWE and maybe some UFC, I would be fine with that as well. That's just me personally. But sports is a big impact. And as well, whether or not the WWE Network comes to the UK, I don't know. I think it might be a technical issue why they can't do it yet. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if Star Plus got it in Latin America and maybe in other regions as well, that's on the Hotstar version. But there we go. Stuart said, when do you expect we'll get announcements or release dates for the European originals that have been announced, such as Sam, Saxon, Culprits, and Extraordinary? Personally, for me, I think we're just going to get these announcements maybe a week or two before they start being released. Maybe a week, maybe a little bit before that. I don't think there's going to be any big announcements for them. Maybe they might do something. I would imagine, to be honest, if they were going to do it if they were going to be coming in the next couple of months, they would have done it in this new House of Mouse, House of Disney Plus thing that they're doing right now here in the UK. So as far as the dates, they could be any time. I don't think I can even guess, to be honest. Dana said, is there a movie or a TV show that Disney could put on a modern day twist on it for a fresh Disney Plus series? I'd love Indiana Jones. I think Indiana Jones. You could maybe set it modern day. Kind of maybe update it for like now. That might be a way of kind of doing a new version of Indiana Jones and maybe being able to step away from Harrison Ford if they did that. If they did like a whole time jump and we're like, right now, you're just in modern times. It's a new Indiana Jones set in today. Maybe that could be something that could work. As far as the modern day stuff is the one that sort of gets me. I don't know necessarily about it's kind of odd in terms of what they do, and I'd rather they do something original rather than doing a twist on it. So that, I think, Indiana Jones would probably be my main one. Matt said, when Disney Plus International is getting content for Star Brand, they should also add it to Hulu. What are your thoughts? Well, we're starting to see this. This past week we had a new series called Insanity or Insania, which is a Brazilian Star original, and it got released in Brazil, I think around this early December. It's been released everywhere this week on Disney Plus, and then in the US it got released on Hulu. So we have starting to see this. I'm hoping with this new international corporate thing that they've kind of announced recently, where they're going to be making lots more content internationally, they can start getting some things sorted. We're seeing it like with the announcement for How I Met Your Father, where they're kind of trying to streamline the dates. And I'm really hoping they do this. I really hate this, like show here, show there. They're all on different dates, different times. That's coming with. Just get it all on the same day, like they're doing with Pam and Tommy, where new episodes are dropping at the same time internationally. I know it's a little bit more work at their end, but they've got to start thinking more unified rather than just, it doesn't matter. I think the world's got a lot shorter, a lot smaller. You can't. I completely agree that Disney Plus should be getting stuff at the same time as Hulu. I don't understand why we're not. And there's this whole thing of like holding it on, in cases breaks and stuff. Just give it to us how the Americans get it. They can do it for some series and then they can't do it for others. So for me, like we're getting like The Walking Dead in a couple of weeks here in the UK on a Monday, and This Is Us, we're getting it like erratically. Like this month, there's only like one. I think in February there's only going to be one episode because of the stop for the Winter Olympics. So yeah, they totally need to get this sorted. They definitely need to get this sorted. So Josh has said, what role, and I'm not even going to try, Awayu is playing in Guardians of the Galaxy, and how do you think it will affect the MCU going forward? So I was looking into this one. I've got no idea who he's playing. None of the articles seem to have a clue who he's playing. And yeah, so I can't really say, because I don't really know what character he's going to play and how much of an impact it's going to have. Because it could be anyone. And I'll be honest, I'm not too familiar with the Guardians of the Galaxy comic book series of who the villains are. I've just literally, like last night as a recording, finished off the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. Got that one for Christmas, and that one had like the church and stuff, and it had some extra villains. There was Fin Fan Foom and a whole host of different stuff. So if they brought them in, I'd at least have an idea of what they are now. But I've got no idea what this guy is playing. Two Big Row says, since Bob's Burgers is getting a movie, could Disney make more movies based off like It's Always Sunny or Brickleberry? They can do. I don't think they need to anymore. I think the idea of taking a streaming or taking a show and taking it to the movies, I don't think that's going to work in this, 21st century pre-pandemic. It's all going the opposite way. The movies are all going onto TV. I can't see this happening now. I don't think Bob's Burgers would have got the go ahead for a movie now if they went to they'd probably just say, "Oh, make us some specials," but I don't think they would make a movie for cinema release, and I don't think we're going to get them for them. Dana said, "Is there a Marvel character that we haven't seen yet that we do in the next phase or two?" Well, there's something like there is thousands of characters in the MCU, or sorry, in the Marvel comics that they could introduce into the MCU. And there's a lot of them coming up, which I'm excited for. Miss Marvel is one that I'm really looking forward to seeing. She-Hulk. And then that also brings in a host of other characters. I'm really looking forward to Moon Knight. And then we've got all this Werewolf by Night. There's all these extra characters and stuff that they could bring in. Adam Warlock, having just played that video game, he's going to be fun when he jumps into it. But yeah, there is just so many characters that they could bring in. I'd like them to do a little bit more with the villains and kind of keep them in there rather than keep killing them off. But yeah, that's that one. Dana says, why do you think Disney didn't buy out Comcast in 2019 and just be done? Right. So with regards to this, I think back in 2019, I don't think Disney were buying out 20th Century Fox. So that was like 70 odd billion. And part of the issue with that purchase was Sky and Comcast. Comcast owned a big chunk of Sky, as did Fox. And so there had to be a deal to get them out of it. Also, at the same time, I don't think generally Disney could have afforded to have brought Hulu out right at that point of their share of Hulu, because they just couldn't afford it. And also Comcast were probably sitting there going, what's going on here? What are they doing? They probably wouldn't have wanted it either, because they would maybe weren't holding back to see where everyone was going. But I think primarily it just would have been financially. I don't think the board, there was a lot of risk going on and spending, a big chunk. And they were also buying the 10% of Time Warner's share of Hulu as well, which they did like literally around the same time. So they were spending a lot of money, and I suspect it was just like they obviously came up with the agreement to give them a couple of years grace, which I think worked out good for them, because obviously with the pandemic, it probably helped kind of keep all that at bay and just kind of let that stretch through. I probably would have liked it to have been done now rather than 2024. But yeah, they obviously had to come up with that agreement because otherwise I don't think Hulu could have carried on with multiple ownership. Joshua said, asking for a friend, any news on the Alita sequel? Haven't heard anything. There's been like, I think every time Robert Rodriguez does like an interview, they ask about it, and he kind of hints that they're kind of doing something. But yeah, we've heard absolutely nothing on it. It's just a lot of maybe just trying to keep it in the news, trying to keep the franchise going. Connor64 said, how come the Star original movies are getting released on the same day as Hulu, but the shows aren't? And it's very annoying. Well, I think a movie is much easier because we're really seeing this year with a load of movies that we're going to be getting, like No Exit, Prey, Rosalind. So we're going to be getting them on the same date. It's just probably easier to put out a movie on the same one. But it doesn't mean that we're getting all of them. I mean, Disney is still buying stuff for Hulu, and it's only for Hulu. They're not sending it everywhere. Some of the things are going to be delayed. I think there was another one, Fresh, might be arriving on Disney Plus a little bit later than it'll arrive on Hulu. So it's a little bit tricky. As far as the shows, it is extremely annoying why they're not doing it. On one hand, I can see, right, they don't do it because they're trying to avoid confusion on the internet of people kind of trying to find, maybe sort of Americans finding like a British account talking about it coming to Disney Plus, and then they're like, well, it's on Hulu here. But I don't know. I hate it. I've always hated it. I really just, and then it's just so much easier when you can turn around like with Pam and Tommy and just say, look, it's coming everywhere, same place, just a different network, and it's just so much easier. And I hope we get more of that one. Okay, and our last question. The Connor asked, The Guardian has said that Disney are taking back control of their content from Netflix. Given that there's still Disney-owned content on Netflix, do you think there'll be another mass exodus of shows? Eventually they're all going to start coming off. As each contract ends, they're going to be pulled off. It was a really interesting interview this week with the New York Times where Bob Iger was talking. This is like his first interview. And one of the things he spoke about was he basically one day woke up and suddenly had this like thought of essentially we are selling content to Netflix was equivalent of them selling nuclear weapons to a third world country so that will then use them on them. So Netflix was building itself on all of these shows and all these movies. And you can still look at Netflix now. You look at those top 10 Nielsen charts of the acquired list and even just the total charts. Criminal Minds, which is a 20th television show, Grey's Anatomy are still massive hits. New Girl, How I Met Your these shows are still massive juggernauts for Netflix. And I do think, they were right in pulling it. The content is going to go. When the mass exodus is, we don't know, because obviously they all have different dates and stuff. We saw a lot leave at the beginning of the new year. But yeah, I think Homeland was one that the Guardian mentioned will be the next one. And yeah, we're just going to see more stuff going. There does seem to be a little bit more of a mix-up with like the new Regency movies of there being a bit more shared out. But yeah, it's all going to end up eventually getting sorted. It's just taking a lot longer. And ultimately, to me, it's like right now we've got to focus on what we know is coming rather than what isn't. But there we go. So that is our weekly Q&A. Thank you so much for everyone for being a supporter. Thank you so much to everyone that sent in your questions. Like I said, I'll be back next week with another live Q&A. Remember to check out this week's podcast episode. And obviously, as well, we've got all of our news videos going up throughout the week. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Laters. I'd like to thank all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members for their support. You can become a member from as little as $2 a month and you get access to our weekly Q&A and much more.